Hey, welcome back to This is Florida, special episode because Josh and I are coming to you for the first time from the newly finished Someday Homes podcast studio.
It looks absolutely fantastic. All credit to Nate and Shauna. They came up with the black walls, the surfboards, the awesome artwork we see here. So we've been hosting over at Movement Jack's beach office.
That's right.
I think it looked great out there. But I think we found our home here for a little while, right?
Yeah, that's it. So this room, we've been using a lot of spaces that are kind of multi-use space. This space, however, is specifically designed for podcast studio. It'll continue to get better as we go. Before we get started on today's episode, which is a great episode, we're going to be dispelling some, things we're hearing in the media, in the headlines, and giving you some reasons why it might be a good time to sell your home. It might be a good time to upsize or downsize.
We're going to get the juices flowing. We're going to have a nice discussion. But what are we going to talk about first, Nate? What you up to?
First thing we're going to do is hit the like button and smash that subscribe button.
Oh my God, break your mouse. Break your phone screen, smash and subscribe.
Seriously, thank you for tuning in and joining it. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you've been a longtime follower or did you just discover the channel. We'd love to hear about it. But I tell you what, before we get started, Josh, I got to tell you, it's getting hot outside. We're in Florida. This show's called This is Florida, so we're going to give you a little bit of it right now. It's getting hot. Took the dog on a walk this morning, put my robe on like I've been doing. And we've been having these cool summer nights if you live up north. If you're from the Midwest, you're used to this weather, but it's been 60 degrees at night.
It's been beautiful at night until it gets a little too cold.
Not anymore. I put my robe on this morning, take the dog for a walk, and that was a mistake. I was dripping in sweat. It felt good. From now on, morning walks are going to be done in the board shorts, sandals, and no shirt.
Be back.
No.
All right, hang on. I'm not going to ask the obvious question of what were you wearing under the robe, but I am going to say we are in a new podcast studio. This is not a fake tan. This isn't from the lights.
Gosh.
We've just been outside, just soaking in the vitamin D.
A lot of vitamin D going on in Florida. It is sunny, and we love it, man. I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Favorite time of year is when it comes back around. We're starting to get in the pool. Oh, shout out to Nora. They just had swim team tryouts. It's that time of year. Eagle Harbor's newest swim team member. Shout out. All right, keep
Congratulations. So it's getting hot. The weather's getting hot in Florida, and so is the housing market.
It's heating up. It's heating up everywhere.
It's heating up.
It's extra hot down here.
Yeah, we can see it coming, and we kind of had a slow spring, slower than normal. There were interest rate shock, economy stuff, people wondering what to do, what should they do, and they were kind of sitting around. And then as we realized it's stabilizing and becoming more normal, we're going to see more and more people flood the market, and we think this summer is going to be a hot season, which is all the reason why now might be a good time to sell your home. First, I want to talk about something, though, Josh. It's kind of important. Oftentimes in our industry, the industry experts or the media headlines, they tend to speak in absolutes, like now is the time. It's a better time than ever. And, one outlet is saying the crash is coming, don't do anything, all the while the other one's shouting, it's never going to crash. So
exactly. Our
goal is to not speak in absolutes, but what we really want to do is digest all the data. And when I say data, I don't mean headlines or articles, we mean numbers, right?
Yeah, numbers. And what we want to do is everybody's a unique snowflake. So your situation is different from your neighbor's situation.
That's right.
It's different from the national average. It's different from mine. It's different from Nate's. So we want to speak about your situation. And like Nate's saying, these absolutes, a lot of it's like clickbait stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like it's obvious.
It sells. The fear sells. Okay, but we understand, like, you have kids that you got to get ready for school. You have a job. Your full-time job, requires your attention. After work, you want to spend time with the family. You have a favorite sports team. Does that mean you don't care about the value of your house? No, you absolutely care. Does that mean you're not trying to decide what's going on in the market? Should I buy or should I sell? No, you absolutely are. Lucky for you, our job is to spend hours a day in the books, in the research, understanding what's going on. So we don't want to speak to you in absolutes and say now's the time to sell, but what we do is we study the historical data and we help you make informed decisions based on that historical data.
Yeah, absolutely. And subject matter experts across the board, and we put a lot of time into, making sure we put you on the right path, because there's no way for us to continue in this business without treating people the way they deserve to be treated, getting those people loving us and referring us out and realizing, hey, these guys really know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So we've looked at a lot of data, and a lot of data has come out this week. Before we dive into the data, Josh, you sent me a great video, had a ton of information in it. But the guy who was putting out the information, he quoted Wayne Gretzky.
Absolutely did. So good players skate to where the puck is. Great players skate to where the puck is going to be. And this is a quote from a market rate predictor.
That's it. So we're doing the same thing. We're looking at what is the data say and what does the data tell us about where we're headed,
where we're going. Because if we want to skate to where the market is today, well, go ahead and rewind.
We're behind.
Past episodes, the market changes too quickly.
Changes all the time. Getting into that, we've come up with a lot of data, and what we see is now might actually be a really good time to sell your home. If you're thinking about downsizing or upsizing, maybe you've had a change in your family, unfortunately a loss, or maybe a birth, or a wedding. Divorce, all these things cause a change in need of house, right?
Exactly.
We talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, as time comes, and we've talked about inflation's happening, but what we're seeing in the statistics here is that, you know, as a country, as an average, people are carrying a lot more debt than they previously used to.
That's
and
right.
A lot of clients that we talk to are, you know, maybe sitting on a house or waiting to sell, wanting to dip their toe in the market, wanting to change, upgrade, downgrade, whatever, cash in on their equity, but they're saying, hey, I've got a 3% from when I refinanced in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, so that brings us to our first point. Credit card debt higher than ever. So what does this mean? What are credit card rates these days? 22, 24%? They are just astronomical, and most Americans are carrying more credit card debt than ever before. Chances are, if you're watching this, you have some sort of credit card debt. And maybe not credit card debt, but consumer debt, car loans. Maybe you had a pool installed and you're on a big, you finance that. So at the same time, you're sitting on your house with tons of equity at a 3% interest rate, and you're saying, man, I'd love to sell. I'd love to sell and downsize. But if I sell my 3% house and downsize and I'm paying 6.5%, whatever they are today, then oh my gosh, like those higher rates, you got it, you're scope locked. Yeah. Get out of that. Add all your rates together.
Yeah, and this is something that, you know, if you're watching right now, do you know what your credit card interest rate is? Do you?
Do you know how much interest? Look at your bill. Your bill's like $180, and $160 of it went to interest. $20 went to your balance. You will never pay it off unless you have a lump sum of money.
Yeah, and people just seem comfortable because, hey, if you're at work,
you
just
don't think about it.
Yeah, oh, you're buying a house. What kind of interest rate did you get? But on the same side, like, well, I got a 6% interest rate on the refinance I did, but I paid off a credit card that had a 28% interest rate and a $15,000 balance that I was never gonna pay off.
Never gonna pay off. So here's the thing. Maybe you have a 3% house, and that's great, but you also have a 20% credit card from Royal Caribbean for that vacation you went on. You have another 20% credit card at Target for all the shopping that you do there, right? Okay, you've got a car loan, maybe two. When you add those together, when you average that out, your monthly outgo, your expenditures, they might be pretty high. So if you could sell that 3% house, that house you're sitting at that has tons of equity in it, which we're going to get to in a second. We'll get to those equity numbers. You could potentially zero out all of that consumer debt, move into the new house. Yeah, rates are a little bit higher. They're still historically average, right? So they're not necessarily high. They're just higher than what we've been used to.
And if you're one of those people who's waiting because you think they're going to come down, awesome. You can refinance if rates go back down to 3%, which, hey, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But if rates come down 4% from where they are now, hey, you're not locked in forever. You're welcome to refinance. Let's talk again.
Yeah. So you traded a 3% interest rate for a 6%, but in the meantime, you took the equity and you paid off all your consumer debt. Chances are your monthly outgo is actually going to be less. So you've got to get out of that box, get out of that scope of just interest rate, and think, what is my overall expenditures? What is my bang for my buck? What am I getting, right?
And if you're sitting on $25,000 on a credit card, I mean, what are you looking at? $400 or $500 a month in payment right there. So if you're waiting because interest rates are high, I mean, your $400 or $500 a month payment, you could sell your current house and use some of that equity to eliminate that $500 from your monthly debt picture.
Point number 2, the equity. Let's talk about it, because a lot of people are worried about this crash, right? And when they say crash, we know what they're talking about. They're talking about those early 2000s. Okay, there was so much going on differently with supply and demand with equity. Here's a little bit of the data, a little bit of the numbers we're reading. 2006, most people's loan to value, that's how much of your home was tied up in a mortgage, was about 80% of that home. So if you had a $100,000 house mortgage, that meant that $80,000 of that home was probably part of your mortgage, which meant once you sell it, you had to pay that off, leaving you 20 grand. By the time you had your taxes and your fees and everything else, you're really you're not having money. Today, you know what the numbers are?
What are they, Nate?
Do you remember what they are? 42%. So now if you have a $100,000 home, and I know most people's home is not $100,000. I'm just simple math here.
Yeah, maybe.
$100,000 home, you're looking at $42,000 going there. You pay your fees another 10 grand. You're still sitting with $50,000 cash to do what you want with, to
absolutely.
pay those debts off. So the equity in today versus 2006 during when you saw that crash was different. That's one of the things that's going to keep us from going to a crash, because if somebody lost their job, they're able to sell their house because, they have equity in it, where back then they didn't maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're looking at, hey, how could that be? Remember when you bought that house? Did you get a bad deal? You got a good deal. You put time into that. You listen to This Is Florida and you subscribe, so you know how to keep up with that house. So you have built that equity over time. Time to cash in on it, maybe. I mean, I think, hey, cash out refinance is an option if you really don't want to move. But goodness, I mean, there are houses out there all the time. Do you want to upgrade? You looking for a pool? I mean, you could pay off debt and do that. And it blows my mind when people are looking at that. I run their credit. I see the situation. It's between me and you. Only us can see it. And hey, they don't like interest rates on the new home, but they're happy to pay 30% on their credit card.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Doesn't make sense to me.
I know there's some fear out there with buying because inventory is low. We know this. I looked at some data. 2017, 18, 19, any day you got on Jacksonville. In fact, this day, you would have seen about 7,500 active listings in Jacksonville. The last 2 years, we only saw about 2,100, and now we're up to 4,000. So 4,000 still almost half, because I think it was like 76 to like 4,000. So it's about half of the inventory. So yeah, there is low inventory out there. But what happens is so many people are like, I don't want to sell my house because the price of a new home is so expensive, and I'm going to wait for them to come down. Those inventory numbers, and then matched with it, another thing you talked about earlier was the demand.
We're going to hit supply and demand issues. Yep.
Yeah, supply and demand. That's what's keeping the numbers high. I put a reel out about this the other day. Go back and watch that. Supply and demand is such that there is demand in this country for housing. We have a housing shortage. The builders, I know it doesn't seem like it when you come to Florida because 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. You go down, it seems like there's house factories everywhere. But when you look at it on a housing market crash, comes at like a national level. And when you look at it, Josh, there's like 600,000 homes available for sale right now. In 2017, there were 1.2 million. If you go back to before the recession, the builders were overbuilding. They miscalculated for the number of buyers that were going to be out there. People go back and watch that movie, The Big Short. They make a joke on it, but there are some factual things in there. People were buying to flip houses. They were owning 4 or 5 houses because it was trending up, and they would buy it. If you had a pulse, you got a mortgage. That's not true today.
Property standards were completely different. I mean,
so
the appraisal standards of today
has changed.
Yeah, I mean, the market is absolutely protected, making sure that the values are there. So even if we saw, which the numbers don't lie, we have not seen values slip at all, even in the high interest rate environment.
That's it.
Values continue to rise. And the bottom line is they're at a nice steady increase as demand increases. We see the millennials starting to come in force to the market, ready to buy homes. Well, that's demand. So that keeps those prices going up.
Yeah, today's episode is really catering to that person that's thinking about selling their current home, making a change due to a life circumstance or a change in their life, but they're unsure. I know they're unsure because I talk to them, Josh. I have meetings with people. They tell me, hey, we're waiting to see what happens. We're going to hold off for a bit to see. Okay, well, just like we said, we're going to look at the historical data and we're going to project what's going to happen. And you can make smart decisions based on that. And maybe the time isn't right. And I'm going to put this out there.
Maybe it's not.
If you're thinking about selling today, you're thinking about buying, first of all, go to nateriggsofficial.com. You can call us. I've got our numbers below at the screen. Seriously, give us a call. See if we don't answer our phone.
Send me a text right now.
Yes.
Right now.
Send a text.
Right now. Better respond with a GIF.
That's right. Okay. Here's the thing. Josh and I do enough business that we're not desperate for a paycheck. That keeps us from being afraid to tell you the honest to God truth about what you should
absolutely.
do.
And I think I said it a few minutes ago. Everybody's a unique snowflake. Everybody's situation is very different. You could have $200,000 in equity and no credit card debt. Well, maybe stay on that 3%.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey,
that's it. I went and met with a couple just the other day. They're like, hey, I took a job in another state. I sold them this home recently, okay? Real recently. I tell people, hey, 3 to 5 years is what you need before we can start talking about selling without you writing a big fat check at closing. Mm-hmm. Okay, 3 to 5 years, that's normal. It depends. If we have a Wild West market like we had last year, sure. Yeah. But otherwise, no. So I met with them and, I brought them the numbers and I was like, this is your break-even number and I can sell it for about $25,000 less. So what you should do is rent because it was even new that they were going to rent. But what's worse, writing a $25,000 check at closing or maybe bleeding $100 a month to make up the difference? Yeah. Look, we give honest input like that. For them, hey, it doesn't matter. I'm not getting paid for that. That's just that's part of our job is to share the knowledge and information with you, just like we do here. And we'll come to your house. This is general, but we'll come to your house and give you one that's tailored specifically for you.
Yeah, and we share this in a lot of the questions when I get on the phone with folks. I'm asking questions and sharing these statistics with them to hear their goals. Okay, what does this make you want to do? Okay, how cheap can I come into a transaction? What are we really talking here? I know I got a little bit of equity, but what am I going to need to bring to the table on the new one, Josh? Okay, can I get the seller to pay some of this? Do I have to get the seller to buy down a lower interest rate? Every single person is different. So you could be looking to come into a transaction with, hey, your VA, nothing down. I'm looking to come in cheap as I can, looking to refinance in a year, pay off all this debt. Great. Or you could be like, hey, I'm looking to retire. I'm sick of stairs. Whatever your situation, we need to talk about it. Everybody's unique snowflake. That's 3 times.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Seriously, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And we're not just saying that. We see every subscription that comes in. It means the world to us. When you guys comment, we're quick to respond because we just love interacting with you. As always, go to nateriggsofficial.com. You'll see everything there. We'll have links to some of this data there on the blog section. Check that out. You've got our numbers. Give us a call. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, give us some what ifs in the comment section. Let's get a discussion going.
Let's get it going.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya. Hey, before we go, hand me that. I got to tell you the story here. Look at this. Yeah. Okay. Not this paper, but check this out, Josh.
What do we got?
All right. This came in the mail for me today. I got a box here at the office. And look at this. Take a look. Show it to the camera, Josh. This is looks like a burlwood, I'd have to guess.
We've got a bear on here.
We got a bear, and he looks like he has just slayed a deer. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know what the light's going on for you guys, but take a look at this.
Nature is metal.
All right, so a lot of times when I'm showing houses, I go in and there's quirky little decorations, little fun stuff that you get to see that people have collected over the years. Recently, I took some of my clients to a house. They were looking to buy a house at the beach, and it had this driftwood clock, and the thing was I don't know if it was beautiful or ridiculous, and maybe it was ridiculously beautiful, but that was a few months back, and I worked with those buyers, maintained a relationship, and today I opened this up. They sent me a card, and they're like, we found this, and it reminded us of the clock in the home that you showed us at the beaches. Oh, my God. And so we sent it to you. Hopefully it brings you joy. And I think I always tell people stuff like,
that's awesome.
Hey, if you buy this house, I get the clock, or whatever the quirky thing is, you know what I mean? It just is, sometimes it's serious. But yeah, so they sent me this clock. So I really appreciate that. So anytime, we get gifts from clients and stuff, it tells us, hey, that we matter to them and that we're doing the right thing, right? We would just want to do good by people. This is proof that we're doing good by people. So always appreciate that. If you're watching this, thanks for the clock. We're going to hang it in the office. I don't know if I'm going to put battery in it or just leave it at 5 p.m. Just remind me. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Is this a top gift you've gotten, a top client gift?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, we might have to do rankings.
I had one recently. They just said the closing was nearby and they had a pool.
Yeah.
They said, come over. We got some beer in the truck. Let's jump in the pool. Had a beer, went swimming after closing.
Where's that snake sake? I'll have to bring the snake sake for
Habo
those
sake.
who don't know about it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, cool. That's a wrap.